Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
It's been a year since the change in Kashmir, and Modi government has made a new move. The new move is a change in Lieutenant Governor. Now you might say, what has changed? This position was held by a Lieutenant Governor earlier. Now there is another one. In any case, everything will be run by the Home Ministry in Delhi or the center in Delhi, as it's always done. But there is one big difference. And the big difference is that this Lieutenant Governor is a politician. Now, Kashmir has a peculiar history, and frankly, even I was not conscious of it, despite having followed the story quite closely over the decades, until D.K. Singh, our political editor, underlined it to me, that through the history, through 73 years since 1947, it's only for 14 months as yet that Kashmir has had a politician, as a full-time politician, as a governor. And that was as recently as in last year, in 2018-19. That was Satyapal Malik, who was governor for 14 months only. And then, as we know, his status changed, became lieutenant governor for a couple of months. And then he came back, and then G.C. Murmu was appointed, who also was a civil servant. So, if you go back to the history of Kashmir, since the accession to India in 47, it's quite amazing how a politician has never been put in charge of Kashmir, whether you had an elected government there or not. Now, this is a point that Saifuddin Soz, Professor Saifuddin Soz, he once made to me in a Walk the Talk, and you will see a link of that in today's description. This is when he wrote a book called Kashmir, Glimpses of History and Story of Struggle. So while talking with me on Walk the Talk, I asked him what has gone wrong with Kashmir. Why has it not been handled well right since 47? And he said one of the problems with Kashmir is that no Indian central leaders have chosen to use politics to deal with it, or politicians to deal with it. They've always used the agencies, as he put it. So basically he meant intelligence agencies, policemen, spooks from early on, and then he specifically blamed B.N. Malik, who was Jawaharlal Nehru's intelligence czar. And he said that he poisoned Nehru's mind and also the minds of those around Nehru, and he specifically named Rafi Ahmed Kidwai, who was a good agriculture minister under Nehru, and Ajit Prasad Jain, who later became a governor also. And he said all of them poisoned Nehru's mind about Kashmir and the minds of hawks in Nehru's cabinet. Now, that background is important because then you see how Government of India through history has handled Kashmir. They've never appointed a political governor. That the corollary is that they never saw it as a political issue. They saw it as a military issue, or an intelligence issue, or a security issue, or an India-Pakistan issue, or a territorial issue. And politicians, whether you like them or not, politicians have flexibility that people who come from bureaucracy or police, intelligence proliferations, or people who've been soldiers do not have. They are not trained to be like that. Plus, if you let me use that expression, they are not as shameless as the politicians can be, because politicians can go left to right, top to bottom, in and out. That is politics, and that's why you need politicians, and that's why to solve a major problem in the course of time, ultimately you need politics, because without politics nothing can be resolved in a democracy. So this choice of a political governor now, and this really, you can say that, always Lieutenant Governor, that this is Narendra Modi's first real choice for Kashmir, because it comes after the change in Kashmir status. And I will quickly run you over what we saw in the past. So in 1952, when the Indian Constitution came in, Kashmir had a special dispensation. Kashmir did not have a governor because it wasn't like any other state. It had a Sadr Riyasat, a head of state, and that was Dr. Karan Singh, who was the traditional ruler or Maharaja. So it's 52 to 65. He functioned as Sadr Riyasat. Then 64 onwards, other crisis came in Kashmir. You can read about the Hazrat Bal crisis. I will not go into that just now because we'll get distracted. Pakistanis were increasing the pressure at that time in Kashmir. Nehru was declining and Nehru died. Shastri had just taken over. So big changes were made at that time in Kashmir's status also and the constitutional arrangement. So sometime in 1965, Dr. Karan Singh from Sadr Riyasat became governor of Kashmir. So that was the first governor. Now you want to say it was a political governor, you can choose to say so, but not really. He was the traditional ruler of Kashmir. It was his father, Maharaja Hari Singh, who had signed the instrument of accession. So this was symbolic. Also because he was a Kashmiri, he was a Hindu, he was from Jammu. He had some capital but also limited capital. He was not quite seen as a political governor working on behalf of Delhi in Kashmir. In 67, he was replaced by Bhagwan Sahai, ICS. 67 to 73, 6 years Bhagwan Sahai was there. Then 73 to 81, a full 8 years governor was L.K. Jha, again a distinguished ICS officer who also served as governor of Reserve Bank of India. After that, 81 to 84, crucial years, Indira Gandhi's second coming, B.K. Nehru. B.K. Nehru also was a former ICS officer and served as governor in many other states, and his name will come up again. Then 1984 to 89, we had an interesting appointment, and that name will keep coming back to us. That was the appointment of Jagmohan. Now many people today might think that, oh, Jagmohan was a BJP person, but think again. Jagmohan was a favorite of the Congress party. He was a favorite of Sanjay Gandhi during the emergency. That's when the Turkman Gate issue came up, and that's when there were many allegations against him and inquiries at Shah Commission and elsewhere. That's when bulldozers were used in Turkman Gate to clear out the slums. And when Mrs. Gandhi was in power and when Rajiv Gandhi had become quite powerful in her setup, he was sent as governor to Kashmir on 26th of April 1984 while Mrs. Gandhi was there. And this was a time when India's internal security was in a tough situation. Remember, just a few weeks after that, just 5 weeks after that came Operation Blue Star in Punjab. So Jagmohan was sent there. He served a full 5 years till July 89. Now Jagmohan was not yet a politician. In fact, even when he got appointed governor the second time in 1990, January 1990, he was not a politician. He was still a former civil servant. He was, in fact, recruited in the Punjab Administrative Service, in a provincial service, and had risen from there to be LG of Delhi, Goa, many other places, and now governor of Kashmir twice. So once again, not a politician. So 89, Jagmohan had served his first term of 5 years. Then came General K.V. Krishna Rao, former army chief. He was there for a short time now, between July 89 and January 1990. You know why? Because things were going bad in Kashmir. Just a little before that, Rubaiya Saeed's kidnapping had taken place. So there was a big pressure on VP Singh government that government was being soft on Kashmir. So some travesty of logic. I don't think K.V. Krishna Rao was soft on Kashmir by any chance. But there was pressure also from the BJP then, Mr. Advani then, and Jagmohan was appointed governor of Kashmir again. But still, he was a former civil servant. He had not joined any party. And this was within months of his having been a Congress appointed governor for 5 years. So that led to Congress party getting very angry with him. They attacked him in parliament. They, funnily, irony of ironies, they even invoked Turkman Gate excesses, although Mrs. Gandhi was in power during the emergency and Sanjay Gandhi was in charge of whatever was happening in Turkman Gate. That led to Jagmohan being removed very quickly. So by May, Jagmohan was gone. He didn't even last 6 months in his second term. In fact, he was quite bitter and angry. So he wrote 3 letters to Rajiv Gandhi subsequently on this. Those were published in the Indian Express also, and we are again sharing links of those letters with you, so you understand also a little bit of the sort of twisted history of Kashmir. But remember again, even the second time, Jagmohan was not a political governor. In fact, the liberal criticism of his governorship from within VP Singh's government. VP Singh's was a strange government. It was a government of sort of not really left liberals, but heartland Mandalites. It was hanging on two crutches. One was the BJP, one was the left front. So it was not meant to last, but the core of the government was quite liberal, Mandalite, socialist, also Lohiite. So they saw Jagmohan as this tyrant from Delhi who people of Kashmir wouldn't like. So they wanted a healing touch. So VP Singh's government carried out one of its stupidest actions, and one of the actions I can never rationalize in terms of politics or simply a loss of mind. While they had Jagmohan as governor in Kashmir, they appointed George Fernandez, who was then a big Kashmir liberal, as Minister for Kashmir Affairs. So they were essentially working at cross purposes. I remember writing at that point sometime in India today that we have a strange situation that you've sent Jagmohan to Kashmir to beat up the people of Kashmir, and then you've sent George Fernandez there to apply the healing touch. This wasn't going to work. This plus the big attack from Congress Gandhi led to his term being very short. So while his appointment got politicized, he was not yet a politician. He only joined the BJP in 1996. That is 6 years later, contested in Delhi, won, defeating Rajesh Khanna. That is a slightly interesting slice of history, a political history for you. In fact, after he was removed from Kashmir, after a short while, VP Singh had a troubled conscience over that, and VP Singh gave him a Rajya Sabha seat at that point of time, but he had not become a politician in the sense of joining a political party. So then what happens when Jagmohan goes? As Jagmohan goes, immediately after that, Gary Saxena is appointed. Now, Girish Chandra Saxena, known as Gary Saxena, was an IPS officer. IPS officer who retired as a formidable chief of RAW, Research and Analysis Wing. He became governor. Again, that didn't last very long, about 3 years. So May of 90 he became governor. March of 93 is until he lasted. Now under Narasimha Rao, who was appointed governor, many of these people keep coming back in Kashmir. So just as Jagmohan had come back, now K.V. Krishna Rao came back, former Chief of Army Staff. He came back in 93, lasted a full 5 years. So a former chief. Once he finished in 98, things in Kashmir were no better, not that much better than before. So again you thought this is a security problem, law and order problem, intelligence problem, intrigues problem. You have to fix it through operations. So who do you need there? You need a cop or a general or a bureaucrat. So who did you find? You found again a cop who was an intelligence czar. And was that? Lo and behold, I told you people keep coming back in Kashmir. It was Gary Saxena again. So 98 to 2003, for full 5 years, Gary Saxena had a fresh term in Kashmir as governor, former head of RAW. Around this time, his brother Naresh Chandra Ji, as we call him, he passed away a couple of years back. He held key positions in Government of India, Home Secretary, Cabinet Secretary, many key positions. So it was also seen that they could work closely together. After Gary Saxena in 2003, by that time BJP was in power, NDA won, Vajpayee government, so obviously they wanted someone of their own. But this someone of their own was also a retired general, Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha, former army commander, who had resigned after Mr. Gandhi had superseded him for the army chief's position by General A.S. Vaidya on the grounds of Vaidya having more operational experience. Sinha was a scholar general, so he was sent to Kashmir. He now spent 5 years in Kashmir, 2003 to 2008, and 2008 to 18, 10 full years. Governorship of Kashmir went to one of our most formidable civil servants of all times, Mr. N.N. Vora, now the head of IIC, India International Center, very powerful position in Delhi, let me tell you. and also chairman of the Tribune Trust. That also is a very powerful position, well into his 80s. So you can see that until August of 2018, since 1947, for 71 years, Kashmir did not see a political governor. Then came Satyapal Malik, who was seen as a lightweight, but he went there. Obviously, Modi government had an idea that when they come back to power, they will bring about these changes in Kashmir. When those happened, you had the awkward situation of a governor getting demoted to lieutenant governor. Plus, at that point, maybe once again you needed a civil servant because the day-to-day work was more law and order, management, etc., etc. And there were uncertainties in the situation. So a trusted civil servant was sent in, that is Girish Chandra Murmu. After that now, what you see today, the appointment of Manoj Sinha, looks like probably the first wholehearted appointment with some long-term game plan of a politician as the governor of Kashmir. And why do you need a politician now? Because Kashmir can't carry on like this. Kashmir has to see a revival of the political process. Who better than a politician to revive a political process? Kashmir has to revive its political process. Kashmir has to have an assembly. That assembly is going to make certain demands. For example, I do believe that full statehood has to be restored to Jammu and Kashmir. Ladakh can continue to be a union territory, but Kashmir had statehood, it deserves statehood, and it should get statehood, because if the bargain is that you give Kashmir full statehood but minus special privileges of Article 370, etc., I think even Modi government will see not as a win, as a lose-lose situation, not even as a win-lose situation, but as a win-win situation. So an assembly has to come in. Maybe the assembly will then make a demand that Kashmir's statehood should be restored. So you have to resume the political process. And we've seen this movie before. This is Kashmir, the other state in India which has been troubled and which I have some experience of having covered is Assam, because Assam has had long history of disturbances. Look at the governors of Assam. When India became independent, initial governors were politicians, Jairam Das, Daulat Ram, etc. But after that, 59 to 60, General Sri Nagesh, India's third army chief, now retired. 62 to 68, Vishnu Sahai, a distinguished former ICS, Indian Civil Service officer, like B.K. Nehru and L.K. Jha in Kashmir. He was succeeded in 1968 by who else but B.K. Nehru for 5 full years after Kashmir. So, you know, the same people were used as troubleshooters on both sides. In fact, not after Kashmir. From Assam, he went to Kashmir then. After that, 73 to 81, again a 9-year term as governor of Assam, L.P. Singh, a distinguished civil servant, also was Home Secretary of India as well. In fact, a distinguished bureaucratic family. His son and daughter, Vijay Singh, was Defense Secretary. His daughter was Secretary in the Finance Ministry, Vinita Rai. So it's a very distinguished bureaucratic family. L.P. Singh was governor of Assam 73 to 81. After that, in 81, when the first effort was made to resume the political process, a relative lightweight was sent to Assam, Prakash Mehrotra, who I knew well. Later he became High Commissioner of India to London. But he was a bit of a lightweight, but politician nevertheless. And some kind of political process then started. In 83, an election was forced in Assam, which led to a lot of trouble, but happened under a political governor. 84, he was replaced by a full-fledged, full-time, active, Khurafati politician. That was Bhishma Narayan Singh. And he was appointed governor at the age of 51. And at that point, Bhishma Narayan Singh said to me, it's a published interview in India Today, he said, Indira ji told me, इंदिरा जी ने कहा कि भीष्म नारायण जी देखिए मेरे होते होते देश टूट ना जाए. This country has to be kept together. For that, we have to start the political process in Assam. So Hiteshwar Saikia came in. That's another complicated story. And then ultimately it led to the Assam Peace Accord of 1985. Since then, Assam has had a checkered history because Bhishma Narayan Singh was succeeded by Loknath Mishra. for 6 years, who also was a full-time politician. But once again, by 97, when Loknath Mishra finished and then the BJP came in Delhi, Vajpayee government came in, by that time Assam had begun to have the alpha violence and some insurgency. So General S.K. Sinha was now sent to Assam as governor. The same usual suspects get used in Kashmir and Assam. That's the reason I'm making a comparison here. After S.K. Sinha, it was again my old friend Arvind Dave. Arvind Dave later retired as the head of RAW. Arvind Dave and we were more or less neighbors in Shillong in the years I was covering the Northeast, based in Shillong, and Arvind Dave was in charge of RAW in the Northeast. He became the head of RAW. In fact, during the war in Kargil, he was the head of RAW. So if you want to know how were those phone calls between Musharraf and his generals tapped and how did India get those recordings, ultimately the answer will be with Arvind Dave. So he was made governor of Assam. After that, another general, Lieutenant General Ajay Singh, he was made governor of Assam. So 91 to 97, Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha. Then 97 to 2003, Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha, then Arvind Dave in 2003, then Lieutenant General Ajay Singh, again a retired army officer from 2003 to 2008, and once again, as you say, things settled down in Assam again. So political governors came back, and Shiv Charan Mathur, the former Chief Minister of Rajasthan, he went back, and since then we've had politician governors there. So if you draw a line, you will see a straight line relationship here, that when Government of India sees a state as a military, intelligence, security, operations problem, check that from its appointments of governor. So if the governor comes from any of those backgrounds, civil service, police service or intelligence, and soldiery or from the armed forces, then you know that Delhi sees it as a pain in the butt, a security problem. When it sends politicians, it's an indication that somebody is seeing this possibly as an issue to address. So that is the important change that's taken place now. That's why I thought I'll talk about this in some detail to you today, because remember, history did not begin with Google, and remember also that India's problems did not begin with Google. Problems like Kashmir precede that by several decades. That's why we need to know this. And before I conclude, let me just quote a line that Jagmohan wrote in one of his letters to Rajiv Gandhi. He wrote, "In Kashmir, this problem will go from bad to worse." He said, yesterday it was Maqbool Butt. He was a JKLF leader who was hanged under Mrs. Gandhi's watch in 1983 when his supporters kidnapped the Indian serving Consul General in Birmingham to seek his release in exchange. Mrs. Gandhi said no. So our Consul General Mhatre, Mr. Mhatre, was killed. Immediately Mrs. Gandhi had him hanged. And then that led to trouble in Kashmir. So he said yesterday it was Maqbool Butt. Today it's satanic verses, because satanic verses led to big protests in Kashmir. Rajiv Gandhi had then banned satanic verses when Jagmohan was governor in Kashmir. And he said tomorrow it will be something else and then something else. So you have to draw the line somewhere. So let me just say that this was the early summer of 1990. And Mr. Jagmohan was prescient. He's a wise old man. He's as old as Mr. Advani, born in the same year, 1927, and frankly around the same time of the year. So please read up those letters, because in some of these writings we get wisdom that we can keep leaning back on. Having said that, remember, it is the Handloom Day, and when I turn up like this almost every day, I am not making any statement on an event. We live in handlooms, except maybe a few months when the weather is too cold for some of this stuff. So patronize India's handlooms.